morning, everyone. I'm Randy Doss. I'm Director of Admission and Enrollment here at Greensboro Day School. And again, I hope you enjoyed that quick slideshow that we started off with this morning. It really reinforces why we work here at Greensboro Day, seeing those cute, wonderful pictures. Thank you so very much for spending time in a portion of your morning with us today. We have a collection of speakers, including teachers, who will introduce you to our early childhood and kindergarten program. You'll see some short informational videos about our program and learn more about our safe environment and unique approach in teaching young children. This program is being recorded and will be shared with you in the next couple of days, including the slideshow. As you hear from our talented and dedicated teachers and administrators, please feel free to put questions in the chat, and we'll get to all of those that we can before our time ends. Unanswered questions will be answered in the follow-up, which again will include that Zoom link and the link for the slideshow that you just saw. But now it's my great pleasure to introduce you to our head of school, Tracy Catlett. Tracy is in her third year, and I believe I can speak for the entire GDS community and say that her leadership has been the foundation of Greensboro Day being a national leader during the COVID pandemic. She has balanced the day-to-day challenges that brings, certainly over the last 18 to 20 months, and has led a series of wonderful advances in curriculum, alignment, and focus. And as we advance, as she likes to say, ever forward. So Tracy, thank you for bringing greetings this morning.
Thank you, Randy. Good morning, everybody. I'm so glad that you could join us. And we hope that this gives you just a snapshot of the day in the life at Greensboro Day School, and that you'll come to campus on person. I mean, the admission office will talk more about that opportunity at the end of this Zoom. So we hope this gives you a snapshot, and then just the desire to actually get here on campus and visit us in person. I'm Tracy. I am starting year 3 as head of school at Greensboro Day School. I want to give you just a tiny piece of my background so you can hear the diversity of experience that I've had that has led me on this journey to Greensboro Day School. First and foremost, I have a diversity of experience in education and spent 11 years in the public school system. And I'm sure public school is where some of you are coming from or actually considering as you think about next year. I can't say enough about that. What I love so much about Greensboro is the diversity of schools that we have, whether it's public, parochial, Montessori, religious, non-religious. You have a big job ahead of you all. So go with your heart and where you feel is the best fit for your family. And we're here to tell you our story today. So 11 years public school experience and then 15 independent school years, which I've loved and cherished. And what took me from public over to independent school after 11 years was one of our sons starting kindergarten, and it ended up being a place where we raised our children. So my husband and I have 4 boys, and one of them's a freshman here at Greensboro Day School, and 2 of them are products of being in an independent school beginning in the morning, as a 2-year-old and moving on through senior year. So Greensboro Day School, our job, we have one focus this year, our leadership team. We have had lots of challenges around COVID, but Randy mentioned Ever Forward, and that's my message to our faculty, our leadership team. We are moving GDS Ever Forward using a human-centered and systems thinking approach. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a minute, but our goal this year is to ensure the well-being, safety, and belonging of the GDS community while we're moving our school ever forward. So when I talk about, as a leader, when we talk about ever forward, the strategic plan, which we'll show you where to find that, it's on our website, is really our roadmap to accomplishing our mission. We create a strategic plan that guides us in terms of goals and action items that helps us live our mission. Human-centered, I would say one of the very unique things about not just leadership, but our culture and who we are, is we are human-centered, meaning when we are designing things for students, we ask for feedback from students. We're getting ready to ask to do a quarterly feedback for our parents. It's really important we don't wait till the end of the year to ask our parents, how's your experience? So we're very focused on not just asking for feedback, but utilizing it, looking for themes and patterns, and using it to start a conversation of really confirming all the wonderful things we do well, but also acknowledging challenges and things that we know we could do better. We apply an iterative process, which is part of being human-centered, which means we try things, we get feedback, and then we get more feedback, and we make it better. And that's really been a big part of who we are as a community. And then systems thinking really goes back to thinking about when you have a problem, let's go bigger. Let's go upstream and think about what are those things that we can do to fix that. And that goes back to getting feedback from our parents and our students and our employees. Randy talked about a community of belonging. It is one of our goals. It's an aspiration, and being a community of belonging is important. And the best way to say that to you all as prospective parents is the question at Greensboro Day School I challenge our team to think about is the question, did we think of you before you got here? And that's the work that we do. We think about everyone. We think about everyone regardless of socioeconomic status, race, gender. We have a diversity statement that guides that. So if you show up as someone who is a Republican or Democrat or Christian or Jewish, we are thinking about you. And we aren't here to change our family's values, but we are here to prepare our kids to operate in an interconnected world and to be friends with kids who look diverse, who have diverse beliefs. So that community of belonging piece is important. I am working on a doctorate actually in the connection between neuroscience and teaching and learning. And I share that with you because over and over and over again, from our family's feedback, from our kids' feedback, is completely aligned with what research says, which is kids are going to thrive in an atmosphere when they feel connected, when they feel connected to their peers, when they feel connected to their teachers, and they have support systems. That's when they're going to thrive. So one message I would say would be, our focus on the whole child experience and making sure they have those connections socially and emotionally is really about a huge part of who Greensboro Day is. And we do that through what I like to call as an ecosystem. So we have counselors, we have learning support coordinators, we have coaches, we have teacher assistants. So our lower school and our preschool is equipped with an entire ecosystem to support your child. And that's very special. We have 2 full-time nurses. I don't think you're going to find a school anywhere, honestly, with 2 full-time nurses. They are such an important part of who we are. Another value add of our school would be we meet kids where they are. And that includes academically, socially, and emotionally. We want to give them the appropriate challenge and push, but we are also focused on their social and emotional growth as well.
That's all. Her calm and loving spirit. She's not only kind and smart, she's also talented too. Diane was.
I wonder, Randy, do we want to put some folks on mute?
Tracy, let's remind.
Okay, I think we're back on. So just talking about the ecosystem, whole child centered, and we know your kids, and everyone on campus knows your kids, and that's pretty special. So your children are not a number; we know them, and that was important to me as a parent, that they weren't just thrown into a school system, but they really are known, and so we take that very seriously. So. And then I'm going to end with, because I know this is an early childhood group, there can be There could be a myth that, you're coming to a school that's large, that has a high school, a middle school, lower school. What does that mean for my child, and will it be nurturing enough? And I will tell you, our lower school is known for being nurturing. It's very important, and it's important that your children have that as they grow, so that they are confident. And Jillian, I'm sure we'll talk about competent. It's really important. So when you get here on campus and experience it, one of the things I think you can know and be comforted as a parent, it sure was comforting for me to know, is that this is an incredibly nurturing environment. And we can't wait to see you here on campus for a visit. I think that's it for me, Randy. Anything else you'd like me to hit on?
No, that's great. I know that Jillian is our lower school director. Jillian Goodman would like to speak as well.
Thank you, Randy, and thank you, Tracy, for that great introduction. I just have to reiterate, we really want you to come visit campus. It's great to see you all this morning, but we'd love to see you in person. So I hope you'll schedule some time very soon. As Randy said, my name is Jillian Goodman, and I have had the pleasure of working in the lower school for the last 17 years. I have a background in business for about 8 years. I worked in public school for about 6 years, and then the rest of my career has been here at Greensboro Day School. And my first 6 years here were as a fourth grade teacher. And so as a parent, I have a senior this year, and she's been here since kindergarten, and a former teacher and a current administrator. I'm really drawn to our mission and our program. If you think about history, time and time again, it has taught us what happens when smart people are not also good people and good citizens. And our mission is really, really clear, that we certainly develop the intellect, but we also help hone those interpersonal skills and ethical foundations, so that children, even as young as 2, can be on a journey to go out in the world and make a great difference. And, Tracy touched on this, but gosh, certainly a pandemic poses really unique challenges to the world of education, and it's no different here. But you're going to hear very soon about more detail about what we've done to really support the health and safety and well-being of our students. And you may have seen very recently some stats that went around on social media, and like many things, they went viral, but it was a table that showed when students had a last sort of normal school year. And as an elementary school leader, I think about fourth graders because that's the oldest. Those are the oldest students in our division. Their last normal school year was first grade, and third graders, it was kindergarten. And anybody younger than that has not had what we would call a normal school year. And if you hadn't seen that's pretty significant. That's sort of the challenging news side, but the great news side of that is that our program at the lower school has always been focused on the children who are in front of us in our classrooms. So of course, we are guided by global and national and local standards. We have a traditional sort of scope and sequence that we follow to make sure children are getting the right sequence of teaching and learning. But every single year, pandemic or no pandemic, begins with this really skillful and intentional exploration of the students who are right in front of us. What do they know? What are they interested in? How do they like to learn? What special gifts are they bringing? And where do they need to grow? Teachers use this information that they gather, certainly from you as parents who know your children best, but also from really careful observation. And then they craft learning experiences that, as Tracy explained, meet children where they are and take them to places they never could have imagined they could go. Our teachers do have experience differentiated instruction in their classroom. So in the same classroom, they can meet the needs of multiple students, which is really great. And more than anything, they work very intentionally to connect with students on a personal level to ensure that they feel seen, heard, and valued. I know Tracy said that. You will hear that again. And I want you to know that that's really a core part of who we are. Our lower school curriculum has strong play-based roots, and it's anchored by some really great social emotional curriculum that you're going to hear more about in a few moments. And it progresses really developmentally into an engaging and challenging academic program that develops character and intellect and leadership. And we invite you to become part of what we affectionately call Bingle Nation. And now I want to welcome Tracy Catlett back. She is going to talk at a really high level about school safety in a pandemic. And as Randy indicated, she has led us with such great skill and compassion, and we are so fortunate to have her here.
Yeah, so many of you may have questions about what we've been doing to keep our kids on learning. We were on campus last year learning with the option. We had 74 families who opted to learn virtually. And this year we are all on campus, and with the exception of a few who may need to jump into virtual learning for medical reasons, we are functioning on campus. I think one of the things, many of the things that we did well in terms of what Randy said, leading nationally, but most importantly, keeping everyone safe, was that this community came together. We said we need to do everything possible to get our campus ready, and we did. And people remind me that I would say things like, this will be the hill that I die on. We are going to have an air filtration system. And we do. We have an air filtration system. We have furniture outside where our kids eat, they play, they have class, they read, they do science projects. Our kids are wearing masks indoors. We have, it's a huge buy-in. 97% of our employees are vaccinated, and nearly 85%, maybe more than 85% of our high school students are vaccinated. And it's about an all-in approach to our community. And we got our campus ready, and we have a COVID response team that meets weekly. We get parent feedback, student feedback. We have a medical advisory team that we consult. So it's really been an all-in approach from everyone, from technology to our facilities team, to our teachers, who are the heartbeat of everything that we do, to our administrators, to our counselors. It was just an all-in approach, and we said we're going to tackle it, and we did. We did very successfully. Our enrollment's been increasing over the last 3 years. We're on a 3-year trend. We are making room to enroll more students, but we're going to keep our small ratios the same in the classroom. So our metrics are looking really well, and we're a healthy and thriving school. And if you have questions about, safety plans, you actually can go to our website. We have our COVID safety operations plan open to the public. I do lead with as much transparency as possible. We were one of the first schools to have an open access dashboard. So our community can go in to see, how many kids are being tested, how many kids have symptoms and things like that. Keep a high level, fully transparent, and probably over communicate with our families. But we get great feedback about the communication that they appreciate.
Thanks, Tracy. We are going to quickly go to a short video, and then I'm going to give a little more boots on the ground information about health, safety, and well-being. So I would like to talk to you just a little bit about safety, and I want to organize it into 3 different buckets. And most often when we survey parents of young children, they think about safety and they think about physical safety. And this is super important, to be sure. We are so fortunate, as Tracy said, to have 2 full-time nurses, but we also have 2 security officers on campus who really just pay attention to the daily rhythm of our school. And we keep children safe by helping them know what to do in case of emergency. And an emergency can be anything from a skinned knee to a fire drill or something of that nature. But when children feel a sense of control of knowing what to do, they feel safe. So we practice monthly fire and tornado drills and regular shelter in place drills. And our entire community wears name badges, and our campus buildings can only be accessed by key fobs or by our main entrances, which are monitored by cameras and support staff. And so lots of ways to keep your children physically safe. And certainly during this pandemic, we have practiced social distancing, proper mask wearing, and frequent hand washing. And our 2 full-time nurses, who are, as Tracy said, just amazing, are trained in contact tracing by Johns Hopkins, and they stay on top of all things related to the pandemic. But also, we have other needs that are not related to the pandemic, everything from allergies to asthma to physical conditions. They help us take care of all of that. So certainly children are physically safe on campus. A really super close second is something that you've heard about a little bit again here, and that is social emotional safety. If children, as Tracy said, don't feel like they belong, they just can't learn. Their brains and their brain real estate is taken up with worries about other things. So as I mentioned earlier, you'll learn more about our focused social emotional curriculum that provides a good chunk of that sense of belonging, but we also have a lot of less obvious ways of accomplishing this. Our faculty and staff work really intentionally to make sure that students see themselves in our curriculum. So what does that look like? It's very intentional book selections that have protagonists, main characters who come from all walks of life with all different life experiences. Work and posters on the walls. Our media specialist worked with children to select different posters to put up in our media center so that children could see themselves on the walls. Names and scenarios in math problems. I was just in a class yesterday, and the teacher was using student names and locations they've come from, and so they see themselves in just day-to-day things. And certainly acknowledgement of family celebrations, religious holidays, and so much more. Students at Greensboro Day School are encouraged to share every bit of who they are. And then they're skillfully coached through those inevitable missteps, because we're learning, right? We're learning as children and as a community. And all of this provides children with a really solid footing that they need to thrive academically. And so speaking of academically, our teaching really focuses on multiple perspectives and a myriad of paths to learning. So it is not uncommon to walk into a classroom or by a group in the hallway and hear, well, did anybody think about this differently? Or does someone have another idea? There are truly no dumb questions, and students are encouraged to try, especially when they are uncertain. I want to be super clear that failure is part of the process at Greensboro Day School, and resilience is the goal. If we can help your children become resilient human beings, we have done our job. So now I have the pleasure of turning things over to, I believe, Emily Transu and Laura Shu, both of whom wear multiple hats. Emily is a lead teacher in our Bitty Bengals 3-year-old classroom, but she is also the chair of our early childhood program. Laura Shu serves as the assistant lower school director, and also part of her job is learning support coordinator. And we'll have a short video, and then they'll tell you more about academics.
I don't know about you, but that music just I just wanted to get up and dance and start moving around. So thank you for that, Chrissy. Those are great videos. So good morning. My name is Emily Transu, and as Jillian mentioned, I am the Early Childhood Department Chair here at Greensboro Day School, and I'm also the Bitty Bingle teacher. So it's really nice to wear that dual hat here of being in the classroom as well as overseeing the program and helping to mentor the teachers that I work with. And I just want to tell you a little bit about our curriculum and a little bit about the framework that goes behind how we do things and why we do things here at Greensboro Day School. So our early childhood experts, we've really worked together over the years to create a really sound curriculum based on current research and best practices in early childhood. We try to take into account the developmental ages and stages of the children to create lesson plans and project works that really build on their curiosity and sense of wonder. And as Jillian mentioned, because we are an independent school, we can make changes and refine our curriculum based on who's in front of us. And that has been such an integral part of what we do and why we do what we do. And what we really like about this is that we are able to celebrate children's unique differences and celebrate our similarities as well, because we are able to teach those children that are with us every day. So our curriculum kind of ebbs and flows based on pandemic year or not, but we really do work hard to teach those children that are here with us, because it is important for us to see and hear those children that are with us each and every day. So our framework behind the curriculum approach are these three things: exposure, practice, and mastery. So I want to kind of walk you through why we've chosen those terms and how they play out in the early childhood classrooms. So let's start with exposure. So as a family in our program, your child is going to be exposed to an array of concepts, beginning in Bingle Tots and continuing in our Bitty Bingle classroom. And typically children in these two different groupings are 2 to 3 to maybe some young 4s. So in those classrooms, children have the opportunity to learn about topics in a real play-based approach. We like to say, kids don't even realize they're learning things because they're playing, and we want it to be that approach because then they're able to make those meaningful connections. But we focus on topics like math and science and language and literacy and social studies, art, music, and more through this really nice play-based approach under that umbrella of exposure to different things, right? So the teachers provide children with hands-on materials each and every day that really focus on exploring their prior knowledge to create meaningful connections to their work. And so what we mean by that is, let's say I get out things to make a volcano with a group of friends. I might say, do you remember yesterday when we were looking at a book, we were talking about volcanoes, and you were curious about what made them erupt? So we're building on that prior knowledge or prior conversations and taking that activity to the next level so that the children can make those connections. As you saw in the video, some of the materials that you might see on a daily basis in the classroom are things for counting, things for sorting. There's lots of things for building, Play-Doh, Legos, wooden blocks, animals, beanbags. All of these things play an important role in an early childhood classroom because these are the ways that we expose the children to the different topics that we're going to teach, like cause and effect, trial and error, turn taking, sharing, mimicking, role playing. All of those are such an important thing to do when you're a little friend, right? So as children enter our junior kindergarten program, we shift that exposure to different concepts to more of a practice approach. So now these children are going to be in that mindset of let's practice our skills that we've been working on, that we've been exposed to so many times. So in these classrooms, hands-on learning continues to be at the forefront, but now children have the opportunity to practice specific skills. So on any given day when you might be around, children are going to work on writing letters, making number sets, drawing shapes and copy forms, maybe taking on pretend roles, maybe even creating a restaurant in dramatic play. Lots of different things are going to be happening in that classroom so that children can expand on their prior knowledge, using materials and skills gained from Bitty Bingles or Bingle Tots and putting those into a daily practice. These students also have a nice balance of independent work and group work opportunities, as well as time for play and rest, because those are still important parts of an early childhood student's day as they're continuing to learn and grow. So then once the children enter the kindergarten program, the real work of mastery begins. They've become masters of counting, masters of writing their name, masters of reading sight words and choosing topics to explore a little further based on their individual interests and so much more. Kindergarten students really have the opportunity to work at their own pace, or they can work in small groups for reading and math. It really depends on where they are because teachers work diligently to create differentiated learning opportunities to meet the students of the kids in their classroom in all areas of learning. So you can kind of see how those ideas weave throughout the program of exposure, practice, and mastery. Beginning in Bitty Bingles, children work with specialist teachers on a weekly rotation. So they get exposure to art, science, music, library, world language, and PE all across the campus. And so it's really nice to be able to have those opportunities for our little ones. Each grade level also has its own curriculum map that outlines all the topics that would be explored in any given year, as well as the experiential learning opportunities that we might do in and around our campus and our community. Once you come in for your campus tour, our admissions team can provide those for you. Now Laura is going to share a little bit more about how our early childhood teachers foster the love of learning. Laura?
Thank you, Emily. I'm Laura Shue. Is it echoing or is everything okay out there? Okay, good. I'm Laura Shue, as Emily said, and I also wear a dual hat. I am the assistant director in the lower school, and I'm also the learning support coordinator for our early childhood and kindergarten grades. So welcome this morning. We're glad you're here. As you've heard, I think from many folks already today, children are born with a natural curiosity and love of learning. And our early childhood, these years are a time of nonstop curiosity and discovery. And our Greensboro Day School teachers nurture this love of learning by letting children learn by doing. Our teachers encourage children to persist when things are hard. Our teachers are providing a safe environment for learning, and our children let our children learn through play. So this combines, as you heard from Emily as well, hands-on activities. It combines fun and exploration. And I'm sure you noticed in the clip that children were exploring materials. They were exploring our campus. They were using many manipulatives and materials, and they were safe and happy. In early childhood, teachers are introducing your child to a love of books, a love of words, of rhymes, of stories. And this goes a long way in making them little bookworms at a later age. And our intention is to foster a love of reading. We surround them with books. We build storytelling in their everyday lives. We encourage them to tell stories, and we make books a joyful part of school. This is what fosters a lifelong love of reading for children. Words are not just in books, but they're all around us. Our early childhood and kindergarten teachers immerse print in the classroom environment as a way to expose students to letters, symbols, sounds, and words. And children make class books based on familiar titles. They listen to stories and they help read stories on a daily basis. And it's just as important to create mathematical experiences for children that are playful and stimulating as well. Preschoolers are learning beyond just counting and numbers. They're looking for patterns. They're recognizing shapes. They're measuring, maybe using teddy bears or Unifix cubes, and they're comparing sizes of trucks. Math is meaningful and real. Just like teachers encourage an early reader to look for familiar letters, they're going to ask children about mathematical situations every day as well. So fostering that love of learning is embedded in our early childhood and kindergarten years. Now, after a short clip, Shannon Kincaid and Kelly Sipe will share about social emotional learning.
Hello, my name is Kelly Sipe, and I'm one of the lead kindergarten teachers at Greensboro Day School. I'm also a Greensboro Day School parent of a recent graduate and a current parent of a middle school child. Building relationships, creating a community, and growing a sense of belonging is really at the core of what we do every day. Basically, the heart of who we are is who we are to and with each other. We spend much of our day working on social emotional skills, and these skills help to get children's hearts and bodies ready to learn and engage. Social emotional skills, they run the gamut of learning to become self-aware, how to label and articulate feelings, being able to self-regulate those strong feelings and emotions, perspective taking, developing empathy, all the way to learning how to navigate through the waters of those social dynamics. We intentionally spend the first 6 weeks of school learning about ourselves, who we are individually as a person and as a learner, and who we are together. After those first 6 weeks, our days are guided through a social and emotional lens, because social and emotional skills and our interactions with children and building relationships and community is really the majority of how our day is spent, and learning takes work through that lens. As Emily Transu was talking, I thought of a prime example of how we lead with our hearts in teaching at Greensboro Day School. We had a student a few years back who had passed away, and I got an email from the parent that he might have a hard day. So when that child came in, as you could expect, he was a little sad. I had my list of lesson plans and what we were due to cover. But if you've had a young child who has experiencing any strong feelings, such as losing something that's important to them, if you don't address what's in their heart, teaching them to learn is going to be hard to come by. So we took a walk to our on-campus pond and outdoor learning space, and we had a little coming together as a class to support our little friend who was feeling the loss. And we wished his fish well off to our pond, and children took the conversation to the cycle of life, and we came back to the classroom. Through that experience and taking that time in the beginning of our day, and I'm going to get emotional, that child felt he was important, he was seen, he was cared for, and the rest of us learned a whole lot of empathy and compassion, as I'm still carrying it in my heart, and we made connections that morning. When we came back to the classroom, our hearts were filled, and we were ready to take on the day and learn. And that's the autonomy that we're given as teachers, to be human-centered in our teaching. We strive to develop in students a positive sense of self. We talk about being your best self, and we help them feel emotionally safe so they will thrive both as a learner and as a friend and a peer. I couldn't come without the student work, because everything's all about kids' work, right? So I had to show you this is a portrait of the child being their best self. We know what we tell children becomes their inner voice. And here's a child saying, when I am my best self, I want people to say that I am forgiving and a good friend. And there's this little drawing. And that's just an example of something that we do in kindergarten to encourage that social emotional learning. We do prioritize students' hearts. Our lessons are guided around creating the space needed for children to feel connected and to develop positive friendships. We take the time to work with students to grow their best personal selves. And when you invest in the hearts of children, it opens up a clear and direct path to their minds and to learning. In addition to the work done in the classroom around social emotional skill development, we're also very fortunate to have the daily support and resource in our lower school counselor, Shannon Kincaid.
Good morning, everybody. So I serve the lower school as a whole division. So that's from ages 2 years old to 4th grade. And when I really think about the foundational years of early childhood, there's a primary focus on parent education and family support. I'm going to come back to that in just a moment. So I can also do things like one-on-one intervention with kids. That might look like a conversation around healthy communication or kindness in the classroom. Some days it looks like there's a thunderstorm outside and we need some extra skills around taking a deep breath and listening to our bodies. We might work in small groups where we practice coping skills or social skills. And then I also can push into classrooms, sometimes for just general lessons from our curriculum or something I've come up with based on what's going on in the world. Sometimes it's just to normalize the counselor role, to let them know that I don't come just when things are sad or when things are hard. And sometimes it's because a class may need a little bit of a bolstering in a certain area. So I think about sometimes classes are struggling with sportsmanship or teamwork, and that might be an invitation that I would receive from a teacher to come in and do a little bit of extra work with that group of children. When I think about parent education and family role, I think it's important to share with you that I'm trained in the Triple P program, which is positive parenting. And this year, our counseling department is also going to be doing a positive parenting education series. So that will be going out on our Facebook, our Instagram, and our website. So I hope you'll think about joining that, even if GDS isn't where you choose to be. Think about the ways that we can continue to support you and your family for years to come. So I'll turn it back over to Randy Doss and look forward to seeing you all on campus soon.
Thanks so much, Shannon. Really, really appreciate that. And as we begin to now, we're going to address some of the questions that you've put in the chat for us. So thank you for doing that. But I wanted to bring in Tracy Catlett, again, head of school, as she begins to talk about next steps, as we will as well. And we really hope, again, it was titled Sneak Peek for you today, and we want you to come and see us in action. And Tracy, you want to talk a little bit about next steps and your engagement in this process?
Yeah, thank you. When I hear our teachers and counselors talk, I just think, wow, I wish my kids were younger. I just want to reiterate that our faculty are really the heartbeat of who we are, and focused on relationships and connections is a big part of what they do. And so thank you all for being here. Next steps, admissions is going to walk you through opportunities to visit in person. That's when you really get a sense of who we are, when you see it in action, and we will find ways to do that safely. And I also encourage you, if you leave here with something you're really excited about that you heard, or that you still have a question, if it's not answered today, I spend a lot of time actually meeting with prospective families, and I invite you to let the admission office know if you want to sit down and you want to ask me, whether it's philosophical or just anything you want to ask about Greensboro Day School. I do look forward to meeting with you in person, either through a tour or even a meeting in my office or outside my office. So thank you all for being here for the sneak peek. We can't wait for you to actually get here and see it in action.
Thanks, Tracy. Thanks. Now, one of the questions in the chat was about after school programs and after school opportunities. And Laura, might you be able to address some of those opportunities as we call it BCC?
Sure, that's a great question from potential families and parents who may want to know more about us. We have a few different options for after school activities. We do offer our Bingo Cub Club, or BCC, which is an after school place where students can go. There is options for play, for homework time. That starts when the school day ends and can run until 6 o'clock. There is an option for 2 days a week, 3 days a week, or 5 days a week, and you can register per semester for that. We also offer a few after-school enrichment classes. So we may have a chess option or a Lego option or drama or soccer shots. So there are some other options for some enrichment classes as well. Thank you for the question, Randy.
Great, and thank our parents. So another question that comes in about and this, a lot of this is handled during the admission process, is how do new students adjust in that JK or K, age group in terms of that. And maybe I could get Kelly, you want to talk initially about that? Jillian, of course, feel free to chime in, and Emily, talk about, that transition from JK to K, and of course that decision about JK to K. Emily, let's let you start, and then Kelly, I'll bring you in, okay?
Sure. So in thinking about, the going to JK versus K, there's a lot that goes into that. We like to look at our junior kindergarten program as offering children the gift of time, because children are, they're rushed so much all the time of we've got to get here, we've got to get it there, and we've got to read, and we've got to get our math skills. And so sometimes kids just need a minute to continue to grow socially and emotionally and academically. And so you'll hear us kind of refer to that program as the gift of time. And so when a family is thinking about, which year should I go with, or what grade should we start with, I really do challenge you to think about where your child is. It's not just because he's 5, he should go to kindergarten, or just because she's, 4, she should go here. It's really looking at who that child is as an individual and looking at the whole child and thinking about what might be the best placement. And we do encourage families to really talk with us about what their needs are, what their thoughts are about that process. And then we have a process here at school too, where we will screen them, we will talk with them, we look at their peer groups, we look at where they are with the other children in the group to think about what that best decision might be for children. If you're coming into the school as a new student in JK, we also work really hard to make you feel included and a part of the classroom. We spend the first 6 weeks of every school year getting to know children as individuals, getting to know their families, to really help embrace them into our school community. And so I think there was quite a bit in that question that we could talk about for hours, but that's kind of the short version of the JK. So Kelly, if you want to talk a little bit too, just about the entry into kindergarten.
You did a great job encompassing the process to look at students as a whole child, academically, socially, what the peer group's going to look like and what they really need in this school year ahead of them. As far as in kindergarten, we transition in, and we, as I said, and as we all have said, are human-centered, child-centered. So we take the first 6 weeks of school to really acclimate the children in the routine, building up stamina, learning to become independent, and building that community so they feel safe to be themselves. And then we can really acclimate each other and the students into them as a learner within the community. We do communicate frequently, very frequently. We do have the opportunities to meet with students before school begins and a beginning of the year conference. So that's something that you will spend a lot of time closely in conversation with your child's teachers. So we will always be kept abreast on how your student is adjusting or your child's adjusting to school. We're very mindful of their transition.
Great, Kelly. Thanks so much. So our time is sifting away here, and you've stayed with us. Thank you so much. I want to remind everyone that our applications for admission, they're now live on the greensboroday.org website. So feel free if you have decided to apply to the Greensboro Day School, the apps are live. And as we've said many times before, it is the perfect time to visit Greensboro Day School. We are doing in-person visits for parents. We have a November 11th, what we're calling an all-school open house or an all-school visit day. If that works into your schedule, absolutely wonderful. If it does not, please contact us in the admissions office. That's the joy of our day, trust me, to give tours and to walk through what I call the happiest place on earth. It's the Greensboro Day School Lower School, because it is a wonderful place to be day to day. So thank you so much for joining us. Again, we are available to answer any more questions and hope to see you on campus very, very soon. Thanks again for your time.